We got our first chat with Michael Bunting after practice yesterday, and on today's show, we'll share his thoughts on joining the Nashville Predators and how he has navigated a somewhat rocky transition. Plus, Andrew Brunette told us the one thing he still believes that may make the players think he's crazy, and we're going to preview tonight's matchup against the St. Louis Blues.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy game day, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this episode shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us each and every Monday through Friday. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, it is game day, friends. The Nashville Predators are back home after going 1-1 on their recent 3-game Western road trip. We're going to talk about what Nashville needs to do tonight against the St. Louis Blues to get back in the win column. Plus, yesterday, we got our first chance to talk with Michael Bunting, and he shared what his last few weeks have been like between the trade and a medical issue. And Andrew Brunette, he keeps telling the team one thing. Is he right? We're going to tell you what he had to say and share our thoughts on that as well. Before we dive into all of that, do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, Emma, we have, I wouldn't say a death to report, but we do have some news for longtime listeners at Locked On Predators, and that is this. Last night, we had to say a fond farewell to the greatest piece of hockey swag ever invented, the foam 10-gallon Nashville Predators hat that we use for takes from a hat. You remember last week, or was it earlier in the week? It's all a blur. Last week, Emma's coffee spilled all over her desk. It's contagious, you all. My protein drink fell off of my desk, splattered down my office wall, and landed inside the foam 10-gallon hat, where there was the remnants of the last time we played Takes from a Hat. We had one little take in there, Emma, that was covered in chocolate protein health drink.
Well, rest in peace, of course, to the 10-gallon hat. I've seen the pictures, and I'm more concerned about your wall, quite honestly.
Oh my gosh, you all. I have scrubbed the wall down. There is still a fragrance. There is still an aroma. There's going to be some Lysol wiping and some saging and candle burning. There were words said. You might have heard some of those words through the course of this season covering the Nashville Predators. Of course, the Predators roster got a little bit of a facelift at the trade deadline. One of the new additions, Michael Bunting, who made his debut over the weekend with the Predators on the road. Yesterday, Preds were back home practicing at Centennial, so we got our first chance to chat with Michael Bunting. It was really a great conversation. He mentioned, that he was very excited to be here in Nashville, that he enjoyed his time in Pittsburgh, but was really looking forward to coming to Nashville, which made me want to bring this up, Emma. I know we've talked about Mark Jankowski, noted goal scorer, Mark Jankowski, who, by the way, according to the NHL PR, is the first player in NHL, I believe in NHL history, to score 4 goals on his first 4 shots for his new team. Noted goal scorer, Mark Jankowski. But there were some people who, when they saw kind of his interview with Carolina, felt like he was dissing Nashville when he was being effusive about the opportunity to come to Carolina. And I just wanted to say, we had this conversation with Michael Bunting, and at no point is his perspective on coming to this team and joining this team and playing with some of these players on the roster. Don't read too much into those kind of comments. That's sort of my take. I just wanted to throw that out there, Emma.
Yeah, first of all, I don't think anyone, including Mark Jankowski himself, would have expected Mark Jankowski to leave Nashville, go to Carolina, and turn into freaking Alex Ovechkin in 2 games. Like, that's just not.
That's what the great race is. It's how many times will Mark Jankowski score a goal? That's the actual great race.
Yeah. No, forget Gretzky. Like, who's
Whatever.
going to be the next Jankowski? Yeah. I just think, I read, he said the very like typical things that one would say upon joining a new team, very complimentary of the new team. Like, hey, the locker room's great. The guys are really welcoming. It's fun, to play with these guys. Like, nothing inflammatory whatsoever. And people are like, oh, he's dissing the Nashville room. It's like, literally how?
Just no.
We didn't talk about Nashville.
Well, and then people are like, why is it that every time a player leaves Nashville, they talk about like being in a better locker room? And I'm like, I think you're reading into it. First of all, these are the things that you say when a new team has brought you in. Second of all, there's nobody in the NHL who doesn't know that you could end up right back where you started. And nobody is going to passive aggressively or outright aggressively diss a former team because they could be a future team again.
Unless you're Patrick Laine with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
That's true. There are some breakups that are permanent.
Yeah, that's when you're like, oh my gosh, you are that dumb. You said that. Yeah. Okay.
Out loud where people could hear you.
In public. Yes. So we used our side voice for that. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think, barring those extreme exceptions, yes, these are just things that you say. And you know what? Here's what's real. When talking about the vibe in the room, again, saying like it's a really good vibe here. Carolina has won 7 games in a row. Of course, the vibes are.
They're vibing. They're vibing.
And it's just different. Like, again, the vibes are going to be bad. If Carolina had lost as many games as Nashville has this year, the vibes probably wouldn't be great there. Like, I'm sure if Mark Jankowski ended up in Buffalo, the vibes would also not be great. It's just like, it's a factor of how the team is doing. It's not that there are bad seeds or cancers in the locker room. It's just
right.
That's just not it.
Yeah, this is what they say. And we had an example of that with Michael Bunting. This is what he says. He is looking forward to an opportunity to be here in Nashville. Andrew Brunette said, kind of what you and I had said, Emma. Bunting, as advertised, he really liked his play in the game against Anaheim, felt like maybe because it was a back-to-back and he is just getting back to skating and playing, that maybe he was a little bit slower on the jump in the game against the LA Kings. Now, for those of you who might not know, Michael Bunting got traded, and then just for fun, well, and I got to be honest, I don't know which order it came in. Which came first, the appendix or the trade? I don't know.
First.
The appendix came first. Just for fun. He had to have an emergency appendectomy. So of course we have to get all up in his business. And we want to, we learned a little bit. He was really great to kind of share about like, hey, this is how it went down. And then we wanted to talk to him about like, hey, recovery, how did that go? And what was that like? This is what Michael Bunting had to say at practice yesterday.
Yeah, that just kind of came out of nowhere. It was, woke me up in the middle of the night and something just kind of felt off. And 5 hours later, I was getting surgery. So it happened quick and was not expecting it, but I feel great now. It's the trainers have been great with me back in Pittsburgh and here, helping me get back to fully healthy. And so I'm putting that behind me and ready to go.
What did you do in the meanwhile before you could hit the ice with Nashville to kind of get ready to go?
Yeah, just kind of more let my body heal. I didn't really do much. They kind of advised me just to rest. Rest was the best thing for that. And so it was about a week off of pretty much just resting, and then a week and a half of right back into it, skating, working out, and getting back into game shape. So I feel like, 2 games now, and that helps. Like, obviously, you take any time off, it's going to take a little bit for your legs to get going. And I felt like my first game I had jump, and then obviously on a back-to-back, a little fatigued. But you know what, I feel good right now, and I feel like the more games I play, I'm going to get right back to it.
So, Emma, Michael Bunting says he's ready to get back out there, ready to get skating, ready to kind of get back to his game. Is that what you are expecting from him? And like we talked about previously, this is a guy who has stuff to play for. He still has a year on his deal here with Nashville, so he's got a lot he wants to prove.
Oh, yeah. And I think that he is, like you said, he's going to be a piece here. Maybe not beyond next year. That's okay. The point is, he's going to be a piece beyond this year. And obviously, he brings multiple attributes to the table, but I think the biggest thing is kind of that grit, that sandpaper that we had sort of been lacking on the roster outside of guys like a Cole Smith, for example. Not a ton of that. And so I think if you can bring that Cole Smith type grit and be a goal scorer, then, that's going to be what they're looking for.
Michael Bunting is a player we're going to keep our eye on, especially in tonight's game against the St. Louis Blues. Coming up, we are going to preview that game against the Blues. Plus, we are going to tell you what Andrew Brunette had to say about goal scoring in the weekend games and what he believes and hopes the players don't think he's crazy for. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Upwork is all about cost-effective growth. Instead of hiring someone full-time, Upwork helps find affordable, top-tier freelancers to help grow your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There is nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. One of my favorite features, Game Time Picks, is going to filter out the fluff and show you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks even highlights super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck. With seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. So we mentioned that yesterday, Emma, we got our first chance to talk with Michael Bunting. We also got a chance to hear from Andrew Brunette after they went on their 3-game Western road trip. Very interesting conversation with him. Like we said earlier, really was pleased with what he saw from Michael Bunting. Did get a chance to ask him about the lack of goals. And of course, he pointed out, played a very good defensive team. Nashville played 2 games, came away with 1 goal. So just asked him sort of, hey, what's going on with goal scoring? What did you see over the weekend? What do you think maybe needs to be adjusted? This is what Andrew Brunette had to say about the lack of offense.
Well, I think the second half's a really hard game to evaluate for goals. We knew it was the best defensive team in the league. We knew we didn't have quite the energy we normally have. But the first game, I thought we created more than enough to score, and we didn't score. It was a little bit of the same song we've heard all year. So we're hoping to get back here. I think we can have the second game. We didn't have the puck as much as I'd like, and I think we can be better being closer to sport to have it more. And we'll get our opportunities. It just we keep telling the guys, and just hasn't. They probably think I'm crazy because they haven't seen it yet. But just keep getting your opportunities. Sooner or later, they'll go there.
So Emma, If the Nashville Predators keep getting their opportunities, will it sooner or later go in? Is Andrew Brunette crazy or is he right?
Man, I don't know anymore. I
Bit
mean,
of both.
last year, that's kind of where I was at mentally with everything. I'm like, you know what? We have no reason to doubt him. Like, we
Mhm.
haven't seen it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it will work out that way. And, if you keep doing the right things, you get rewarded, the good, college try, all of that. And now I am so broken by this season
It really
that
has been rough.
I'm like, the good guy doesn't always win. Nothing matters. Everything is terrible. So yeah, I genuinely don't know. But what I will say is that he is correct in that really the second game, I honestly didn't take issue with a lot of how Nashville played in the first game against Anaheim.
Right.
They dominated. I mean, they had the puck a lot. They were taking lots of shots. They had a lot of ozone possession time. All of those things obviously go hand in hand. So it wasn't that they didn't create chances or they didn't have chances. It was just that was the pure, like, sometimes they don't go your way kind of thing. But like, I thought there was a lot to like, other than the whole one goal thing, but a lot to like about the way they played against Anaheim.
Mhm.
LA, again, on one hand, you want to be like, yay, they played defense, because that's not something they do very much. And so it's like, okay, that's good. But then where's the offense? So
Yeah.
they were two very different games. But yeah, it's hard to compare the two.
It's so interesting that we are still having a discussion about goal scoring. And yes, this is what we can say. Andrew Brunette has been consistent about that message, like, keep taking your chances. Eventually, they're going to go in. But it loses some of the encouragement when it has been a season, for the most part, minus a stretch with Philip Forsberg, minus a stretch with Steven Stamkos. There was a stretch in there for Marchessault as well. But for the most part, it has been an entire season of keep taking your chances and eventually they will go in. Well, eventually the season will end. Which is going to happen first? And so you do have to really look at things like, okay, this is not the first game where Nashville has had more offensive zone time, more puck possession time, and still come up short. That has happened several times. This is not the only game where Nashville had the higher expected goals for and lost. Why does this keep happening? And again, I don't know. It could be an indication of a system issue. It could really just be bad puck luck. I'm sure it's a combination of a number of things, but you want to see Nashville get back to goal scoring. They have got to get back to goal scoring. And part of that for me, Emma, and this is something that we've talked about in other things, part of that for me is stop with the line blender. Like, just stop. And I know it's almost counterintuitive because you're not scoring goals, so you should try something else. But maybe at this point, we should just let the guys figure it out. I don't know.
Stop with the line blender. Stop with the benching of the young players. Just
Dude,
stop. Like,
just
again, I understand. So, like we said, for example, Michael Bunting, not a young guy, but he is also not a rental. Like, he's going to be with the team next season. You're going to be relying on him to be like a key role player on your team next season. That's fine. I get that you want to get him in the lineup. What in the ever-loving flagnog is Kiefer Bellows still doing in the lineup when Luke Evangelista is on your bench? Like,
yeah.
but we already had that rant yesterday, but
Yeah.
still
We're
peeved
still
about
there. We're still there.
it. Mhm.
The other thing that Nashville has got to do, and this will come up not this week because, like we said, they have a 3-game homestand. Nashville has got to figure out how to win on the road. They have the second worst road record of any team in the NHL. The only one worse is Chicago, and that's just by 1 game, you all. Which is so interesting. Last season, You could have sent them out to play an away game on hell's ice rink, and they would have won and brought them home to Bridgestone, and they would not have. But it's the reversal. They cannot win on the road. So it's going to be really important for Nashville down the stretch to get those road wins. Like we said, tonight's game, of course, is a home game. Emma, it's going to be very, very interesting to go to morning skate this morning. It's going to be very interesting because we're going to see the lines, and Emma and I are going to sit there professionally with our mouths closed, but one eyebrow raised. Do you think we're going to see Vanch back in tonight?
I hope so. I
Yeah.
think so. Like, I feel like it was last year when Evangelista got benched one game, kind of early in the year, but that wasn't because he had one bad game. It was like he was kind of had a string of not great games. And so Brunette benched him, and then he came back like a man possessed. And that was like, okay, the benching thing might actually work for some guys. But that was one game. And so now obviously it's not even fair to compare this season to last season in any way, but I think that it would behoove him to be in the lineup. Yes.
Yeah.
Do I ever have any idea what Andrew Brunette is going to do or what he's thinking? No. So while I think he should be back in the lineup, I would not be surprised if he's not. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we will follow along with either of us on social media. We'll let you know what we see at morning skate. And of course, we will let you know what's coming down the pipeline before puck drop tonight against the St. Louis Blues. Coming up, Preds got to get back in the win column. They're going to have to do it against a team, the Blues, who have come back smoking hot since the Four Nations break. We'll tell you what needs to happen tonight to get that win.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, Emma, Nashville going to host St. Louis tonight. So interesting. Who was drinking what when they made this schedule? Nashville is going to play St. Louis 3 times in the next 10 games. And friends, it is time for Nashville to be passive-aggressive spoilers because St. Louis, they are very hot, 8-2-2 since the Four Nations break. They are averaging 4 goals a game since the Four Nations break. They are giving up very few. They have a plus 17 goal differential in their last 12 games. Do you know what that means? That means Nashville's going to need to score more than 1 goal.
I was going to say, it means they actually score goals. What's that like? That sounds fun.
It sound so fun. Maybe tonight is the night we experience that kind of joy. I have to say, when you look at the standings, it's so interesting to me because St. Louis, just kind of one of those mushy middle teams that I was like, meh, St. Louis, whatever. But they have decided that they want to make the playoffs, and timing is everything in the NHL regular season. And you want to talk about a team that is hitting its stride at the right time. It is the St. Louis Blues right now.
Yeah, I think it's hard because they are in the Central, as are the Predators, but the Predators are not exactly knocking on the door of anything right now. I think it is hard because the Central, as we've talked about after the trade deadline, already one of the toughest divisions and just got tougher. Colorado and Dallas were 2 of the biggest players at the trade deadline. Every little margin matters, like any little edge you can gain. It's hard to make the playoffs out of the Central. If you're not, one of the top 2 teams. You've got Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg, Minnesota. Again, timing is everything. Minnesota has slipped of late, but they also have had some injuries and other issues. But then St. Louis could come in and, disrupt the party. So I think if they were in another division, they could be firmly in a playoff spot. Maybe
Right.
not firmly, but they could be closer to a playoff spot than they are now.
Yeah, they would feel more secure. And look, here's what is real. Nashville not going to make the postseason, but you know what would be fun? The St. Louis Blues not making the postseason because Nashville beats them 3 times in 10 days. Just throwing it out there, seeing what sticks. I'm here for the drama. Got out my drama cauldron.
We're not happy, so no one can be happy.
That's
no
right.
one's having fun.
We are not having fun this season. Any of you all.
We are bringing everyone down with us. Let's go.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They are coming off of a big win over Anaheim, 7-2. Can you imagine 7 goals against the Anaheim Ducks? Nashville had 1. So you just don't know what to expect from this game. Do want to shout out, just because we have talked about this before, Luke Schenn, of course, is the Kevin Bacon of the NHL. Everybody is 6 degrees from Luke Schenn. Very close degree, Brayden Schenn, who they just celebrated his 1,000th career NHL game. And do you know what he did to celebrate? Scored in less than a minute to kick off the game. So look, they've got goal scorers. They've got a solid defense. They've got Jordan Binnington, who, like him or not, playing very well. What is going to be a key to this game, Emma, for you?
Scoring goals. I mean, it's so simple. I don't know what else to say about this, but I think that part of that is going to come down to chemistry, and that's stop with the line blender.
Yes.
If they don't score in a period, Andrew Brunette, that's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that the sky's falling. We can, we can go out there again, because how do you develop consistency? With consistency. So that's, again, that's not even necessarily a key to this game specifically, but it is going to be the first game that we're seeing back at home after this road trip. So I'm going to be watching that very carefully.
Yeah, I agree with you. And at this point, like we've said before, nothing to lose. Let these guys build some chemistry. Let these guys build something together on the ice through the hard shifts. There are going to be hard shifts. You're going to grow through the hard shifts. Lineup is going to be really, really interesting tonight. I think special teams is going to be interesting tonight. St. Louis Blues 29th on the penalty kill. Could the Nashville Predators kind of get some momentum on the power play? Yes, Jacob Vrana had a power play goal against Anaheim. That was the 1 goal in 2 games. That was 1 goal in 2 games. That 1 goal. Remember it? Just that one. It would be great to see a little stammer from his office and get that going on the power play as well. This is an opportunity to do that, because here's what's real. The power play needs some momentum going into the offseason as well. So for me, I'm going to be keeping my eye on special teams, lineup. And here's what's real. Nashville just needs good vibes. They need good vibes. And you're going to get those from winning. Yes, Andrew Brunette said yesterday, look, I liked our weekend games. I think for the most part, I liked what we did. Do those good things, but win. And of course, that all comes down to goal scoring. The elusive goal scoring. Yep.
Just one goal.
Just 1 goal. If you blinked, you missed it. The whole weekend, you missed the goal. You blinked. Bless. All right. Well, look, here is what we know for sure. We know for sure that Emma and I are going to be back on tomorrow's show. We're going to recap whatever we see in this game against the St. Louis Blues. Can the Nashville Predators be the punk younger brother who spoils older brother's date? That's what we're going to try to do. We'll let you know how that goes, sharing one word to recap the game and breaking down everything we see. Before we log off on this episode, though, Emma, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
Yes, you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. That is going to do it for this game day episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with that game recap. We'll see you then.